Good afternoon and welcome to Moments with Melinda. I'm your host, Melinda Moulton, and today my guest is Doug Bergstein. How are you, Doug?
I am great. Thanks, Melinda, for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be fun.
It's my
So
pleasure.
in my research of you, Doug, I have found out that you are a fifth and sixth grade teacher at the Fayston Elementary School,
I am.
are the treasurer of the Mad River Valley Recreation District.
Hmm.
You're a Vermont senior baseball player,
Yeah.
Emcee for the Warren 4th of July Parade, and a go-to guy for the Valley Players in Waitsfield. You
Hmm.
were also a director and an actor. So
Yes.
is there anything that I'm missing? I mean, you are like the man, you're a Renaissance man. You do so much. Is there anything that I might be missing from this list?
Well, I have time, and I'm not very good with being idle. So I help out where I can. I mean, there are a lot of people in the Mad River Valley that do a lot of great volunteer work, and I'm always willing to lend a hand.
Well, you do, and thank you for that. I mean, the Valley's such a great place, and it's because of people like you.
Yeah.
Um, but I was
Thanks.
exhausted after reading of all the things that you did. I was like, I think I have to go take a nap. Um, but anyway, I wanted to talk to you for a long time. I've heard your name and known about you for many, many years. But let's start at the beginning for my viewers. Tell us a little bit about Doug Bergstein, where you grew up, a little bit about your
Sure.
family. Thank you so much.
Sure. Well, I was actually born in the Boston area, and my parents moved. They wanted to be close to big cities, but not too close. So they chose Vermont as a spot that's close to Montreal, close to Boston, which is where my mom's parents were, and close to New York City, where my dad's parents were. So I grew up in Vermont, but I'm not a Vermonter, as you know. That's a multi-generational thing. Um, and I went to school, college at UNH and UVM and San Diego State. I like to call my time at San Diego State my semester abroad because it's really a different country there. um, and I ended up settling in Vermont because I found a job at Fayston, and I started there in 1992, and I have been there ever since.
What
Fayston
was that?
Elementary School.
What was that job? Was that your teaching job at Face?
Yeah, yeah. I got the job as a fifth and sixth grade teacher in 1992, and I never left.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and
outstanding.
so and over the years, I have just gotten more and more involved with different things. You know, you meet a lot of people, and interests change, and so you just kind of explore.
Well, tell us a little bit about what drew you to teaching. Who was your greatest inspiration in your life, and
Yeah, it's interesting.
what drew you to teaching?
There are a lot of teachers in my family. On my mom's side, my her mother was a Latin teacher in high school, and she referred to herself as a little old lady in white tennis shoes, and she was a character. And her daughter, my aunt, taught mathematics in college, and my dad worked in schools. He was an artist in residence, and I actually started because I have a degree in business, and I was not a person who was really driven by money, and that's not necessarily a great quality if you're going to go into business. um, and then I did some traveling, and a friend who I had met in my travels had asked me to come into his school and do some just talk about my travels around Europe. And I did that. And then he said, "Hey, while you're here, why don't you stay and ref the soccer game after school?" So I did that. And then he said, "Hey, I need a sub for Friday. You want to do that?" And I was like, "Okay." And I ended up substitute teaching for a while in high school, all the way down to kindergarten. And I think that was a great experience because what it did is allow me to figure out, which kids I connected with most. And it was the middle school, but I wasn't necessarily interested in being in a middle school. I wanted to teach older kids in an elementary school setting, and I got it. And I've been there, for 33 years.
Now that's because Fayston has a fifth and sixth grade.
That's right. All the Valley schools, Warren, Fayston, Waitsfield, Moortown, they are all pre-K through sixth. And then those kids
Interesting.
go to Harwood after that.
And
Or
they
CrossFit Brook. They could go to CrossFit Brook.
interesting, but you teach all subjects.
I do. I mean, over the years, it's changed depending on what I'm teaching. Like last year, I taught a fourth and fifth grade. This year, I'm teaching a straight sixth. But by and large, I've been teaching a fifth and sixth grade with a teaching partner who also has a fifth and sixth grade. And so I've taught. Sometimes I focus on the math and the science, and then the other teacher teaches the social studies and the literacy. So it's really all over the place, but I call myself a general ed kind of guy.
What's your favorite subject to teach?
I'm a math guy. Um, I am. I mean, I love teaching social studies because I think it just it gives you an openness into the world. I have really begun to love history as I've gotten older, which I think is a fairly typical thing. But I've always had a math mind, and I like teaching math because there are some kids who may not be very good with algorithms, which is the formulas that you and I used to solve problems. But some kids can be really creative in their problem solving and how they think about it. And I just love the times in classroom. I'm like, man, I did not see it that way, but you are right on. I love
Wow.
that.
So why are we teaching civics? I don't know if you had civics in school, but I did.
Well, yes, in high school I had a civics class.
Right.
I would say that civics, well, we have a program that's called, oh geez, I just had a blank senior moment to call it, say that
That's
responsive
okay.
classroom. We use responsive classroom,
Concept class.
which is really it that I would consider that to be a civics class. It's about interacting with other people, learning how to be part of a group, learning how to greet one another. The day starts with a morning meeting, and we touch base with one another. We share things about each other, about ourselves with each other. Um, but civics, are you thinking about like politics
Well,
or
no, we when
how
I
to
was
be?
in, I learned about, the three branches of government, and we
Yeah,
learned
sure.
how our federal government worked and how our state government worked, and it was a full year of civics. I think I had it in seventh grade.
Yeah. Well, I know that at Harwood, I mean, I don't know if they have a specific course like that at the middle school at Harwood, but I know they have something called Three Democracies,
Oh, good.
which is absolutely a civics class, fits in that category.
So you're not seeing any book banning, I'm sure, in a
No,
Vermont school, or maybe
no.
you are. But talk to me a little bit about today's educational system, focusing on our country's efforts, some of our country's efforts to ban books and outlaw science as true fact. How do you feel Vermont rates?
Well, I would say Vermont rate's very high in that. You know, I don't know of any schools in Vermont that are talking about banning books or talking about not teaching evolution. Um, my under my from my reading, that's pretty much in the South, and I think it's pretty sad.
And out
Uh,
west too. I'm Southwest. I was just down at the Planet of Words in Washington. I don't know if you've been to that museum.
I have not.
But they have a whole huge gymnasium with, beautiful hardwood and stuff, but it's has all the banned books that have been banned in the country. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We live in a bubble in Vermont, and
Yes, we do.
and we are pretty free to teach reality, fact, science, and truth, and that's a good thing. Now, I'm going to ask you your opinion about Governor Scott's appointment for Secretary of Education, Zoe Saunders,
Hmm.
who, as we know, and my viewers might not know, is a former charter school executive from Florida.
Hmm.
And she was rejected by the Vermont Senate, but Governor Scott may reappoint her in a permanent capacity. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I think there is a big difference between running a charter school and running a public school. A charter school, you can pretty much do what you want, and a public school is working within a larger system. I don't know her personally. I don't know a lot about her her background, and maybe there are sometimes people who don't know anything about that specific system, but they have great skills in organization, and maybe that's her. I don't know.
Okay.
Uh, but I'm willing to say that there's a significant difference between running a charter school and running a public school. Public schools are for everyone, and that's hard.
I also think you need to know about Vermont and
Oh,
bringing it
sure,
up to Florida.
sure.
It's just like, come on,
Right. It's a,
on, Governor, you
yeah.
can
I
do
mean,
better.
you asked about the book banning, and, if you come from a place where banning books is the norm, and you come to a place where that's unheard of, it's a
Hello,
pretty big difference.
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work. So, let's talk.
I know the teachers union, the Vermont NEA is against it.
Okay, well, good. Okay, I'm going to move now because we only have half an hour, and I could talk to you for a whole day. But let's talk about the Mad River Recreation District.
Sure.
Um, uh, talk about that group. Now, there's been a lot going on over the past few years. To take what I consider one of Vermont's top recreational spots to an even higher level. What are you all working on now? And share some of your accomplishments.
Well, a couple of years ago, we hired an executive director, Laura Arneson, and what that has allowed us to do is really connect with the various volunteer organizations within the Mad River Valley, the Mad River Planning, the Mad River Riders, the Friends of the Mad River. Just so many different organizations, and she's been able to reach out and um, and and really spearhead some things. Like we received the largest VOREC, Vermont Outdoor Recreation, and we got a big grant from Vermont, from the state of Vermont. More than a half a million, almost $500,000, and she's been instrumental in orchestrating the spending of that. I mean, it was a huge process to get that money. And so with that, we're able to build some trails, get some bridges built, and really try to coordinate things within the valley. So that's one thing that's really recent. A couple of years ago, our chair Rebecca Baruzzi was really instrumental in us acquiring some land, which our organization, which was formed in 1993, has really over 25 years has been a grant giving. We get money from the three towns of Fayston, Warren, and Waitsfield, and we give grants to various organizations who are focused on recreation. A lot of kids organizations, Mad River Little League, Mad River Soccer, Mad River Lacrosse, all those youth organizations, and some adult organizations, the riders, they make trails for everyone. The chapter of the snowmobile organization that runs through the Mad River Valley. We have the pickleball gets money from us. So we had mostly been functioning as getting the money from the towns and distributing it to these different organizations. Mostly that, well, the Mad River Recreation was organized because the towns were a little bit tired of these individual groups coming to the different select board meetings and asking for money. And they were like, let's put this all in one place. I mean, the Mad River Valley, yes, it's different towns, but it's really one community.
Right.
All the kids, we're not big enough to be, have these organizations town by town. So we combine, and a lot of the stuff is centralized in Waitsfield. So anyway, we bought some land a couple of years ago from Kingsbury's, which is right across the street from where I now live. So I'm right across the street from Mad River Park, and it is a phenomenal playing field for both soccer and lacrosse. And people that come from other towns just can't believe we have a resource like this. So those are some big things. It's interesting that you asked, some highlights, because we're about to go into 30 years of existence, and we're trying to do a summary of what we've done. And I have been on the board the longest. I think I went on in the late 90s at some point. Um, and I've been the
Very
treasurer
cool.
ever since.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep,
Thank you for sharing that with me,
sure.
for my viewers. So let's move on to you being a senior baseball player. Talk to us about your team and what position do you play? And share that with us and how long have you been playing on this team?
Yep. Well, so my baseball career started when I was, I don't know, 7, 8. And I did play a little bit in college. And the Vermont Senior Baseball League is for 35 and older. Uh, so it's
Wow.
not really senior 65
Right.
and older. But each team is allowed to have 4 players between the ages of 35 and 40. The idea being to seed the team for years to come.
Right.
Um, myself, and a teammate, Mike Riccardi, have I started the team in 2002, and he and I played together on a team in Colchester in 2001. And I was like, I'm not going to be doing my home games all the way in Colchester. And so he and I said, we think we can start a team in the Mad River Valley. So 2002, started the team, and it's been going strong ever since. And he and I are the longest tenured players in the league at this point.
How do you all do?
We so that when people ask how the Mad River Valley team, we don't have a nickname. We're just called Mad River Valley. Um, Ask, what kind of team are we? We're in the middle. We are competitive in most games, and we don't get blown out by the great teams. We don't outscore the lower teams by dozens of runs. We're competitive, and we have fun.
So
Because in the end, none of us are going to the pros.
you're middle of the road. So what position do you play?
I pitch,
Oh,
and that's the position I played in college.
wow. Pitcher.
So I pitch, which, as you get older, it's pretty strenuous on your body.
I would say.
Um, and when I'm not pitching, I play pretty much anywhere. I can play any position, and so I'll fill holes,
So what's your favorite
wherever.
team?
Professional team.
Yeah,
I'm a Boston Red
I
Sox fan.
figured, I figured that. Okay,
Yeah,
now I'm gonna move on.
sure.
There's so much about you.
Yeah, so much
You're
about.
truly a Renaissance man.
I do play ice hockey as well.
Oh, you do? Oh my gosh.
I
Now, did you do
do.
that up at Letty? Did you-
No, we have a great rink in Waterbury.
Oh my gosh, of
And
course.
it's a late night. I play in a league that we don't get on the ice until 9:30,
Oh, wow.
which is a little tough on school nights.
I would say.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
for
you're getting
you.
home at midnight and maybe not getting to sleep till 1. But
That's a, that,
hockey's a great game.
it
It's
is.
really fluid, but as you age, and I'm one of the older players in that group, and so playing against 20 to 25-year-olds has become
It's
more and
tough.
more challenging.
It's a lot of exercise. So we're gonna move into the Warren 4th of July parade.
Oh boy.
4 pages on you, and we're more than halfway through our interview. It's an icon of town parades. It focuses often on the political realities of our time. Bernie Sanders never misses the parade. And thousands come out to scream and holler and dance and laugh. Now the floats are amazing, and the themes do bring home the fact that Vermont is inherently a progressive state. You are an MC of that parade, correct?
Hmm. I got the best seat in the house.
That is so cool.
Every single float stops and struts their stuff in front of me.
And you and Karen Anderson, right?
Karen Anderson organizes all of the volunteers for the judging,
Uh-huh.
and she is the one that asked me to MC. And I did it one year, and then I didn't do the next year, and then she asked me to do it again, and I said, well, if I'm going to do it again, I need my wife, Allison Duckworth, to join me.
Allison, great
And
lady.
so she's the color commentary, the comments. She's just sort of says whatever comes to her mind, and I'm the one that keeps everything organized and identifies what's happening.
Good for
Uh,
her. Good. So
yeah,
it's a husband and wife team.
husband and wife team.
Right. Fantastic. So now let's move into what I think is probably your greatest love, other than Allison, the Valley Players. The Valley Players. Now, the website to my viewers is valleyplayers.com. It's that simple. Please visit the website. It's wonderful. I loved every bit of it. Now, this community theater has been in existence for 45 years. It was started in 1968 by Tony Egan, Bob Law, and Gary Murdoch. So talk to us a little bit about the theater and its early years.
Right. So I just want to point out that if people are doing the math, they're going to be like, wait a minute, that's way more than 45 years.
Nope.
But that's okay because so those folks did start something called the Valley Players Theater, and then it sort of went by the wayside. And then in 1979, Mitchell Kontoff and Jennifer Howard kind of got the ball rolling again. And so we've been going continuously since 1979,
Okay.
which
Thank you
is
for that clarification.
yeah, you bet. You bet. And I forgot the question. What was the question?
Well, it just was, talk a little bit about those early years, and then I'm going to go
Oh,
into 1988 when the Valley Players purchased the Oddfellows Hall
yeah.
into their performance space, which is where you remain today. So
Right. Right.
talk a little
So,
bit about those early years and how you got involved.
yeah. So the early years was, before my time. I was still in high school in 1979. And, I think, that group of people were just like, we want to do something we want to do something. We love theater. We just want to make something happen. And the first show happened at Fayston Elementary School, by the way, also before my time. So they put on the show there, Harvey. And it's funny because I've always looked at that play and I'm like, I would love to play the main character, Elwood. And
Which you did, didn't you?
which I did when we did our 40th anniversary.
I saw that.
And, so we have this thing where we have never repeated a show. And that was Jennifer Howard was pretty adamant about that. She's like, there's so many shows out there. Why would you ever repeat something? And so for our 40th anniversary, we decided we were going to repeat our shows. And so the first one we did was Harvey, and I was so excited. And I got the part, and it was a thrill.
Yeah.
I joined the board in my first show that I did was 1997. I played a minstrel in Once Upon a Mattress. And I got that part because I was singing in the Mad River Chorale with Mitchell Kontoff, and he said, why don't you think about coming out? And so I did, and I've been involved. I got on the board within the year. I got on the board.
So
Um,
you folks produce 3 to 4 shows per year,
mhm,
and you're hosts of also the Vermont Playwright Circle.
mhm.
So that's a lot of shows.
It is a lot of shows. In addition to that, we do something called Cabin Fever Follies, which I MC with Susan Lloyd. And then a couple of years ago in COVID, we launched the Mad River Story Slam, which I also host with Susan Lloyd. And so they're productions, they're not full shows. Cabin Fever Follies is a variety show. It gets the community members out. We've had a lot of people. Like I don't know if you know this woman named Shana Taub. Have you heard
We're
that
going to
name?
talk about that. I
Okay.
actually have that on one of my questions.
But
Yeah,
we have a lot of people who have come through the Valley Players stage that are out there performing around the world,
in
which
New
is
York.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Um,
pretty
and so
amazing.
yes, doing 3 to 4 shows it's a lot. We always do a musical in June and July, and this year we're doing Spam-A-Lot.
I know. I'm going to talk about that. You're
Yeah,
producing Spam-A-Lot June 27th through July 14th.
yeah,
This is based on the Monty Python Holy Grail, and
yeah.
it's a musical. So that's
It,
happening this summer.
yeah, I'm working on the set with that with my friend Jay Seekins, and it's
Are
I
you in
mean
it? Are you
I'm not
directing?
in it. I'm doing the set because I usually take a vacation at the end of June, right after school gets out.
Okay.
Um, and then in the fall, we often do a show that is pretty well known, and we gear it towards leaf peepers. Thinking that people are in town, we want them to have something to do, and so this coming fall, we're doing um, Agatha Christie's Mousetrap.
I saw that with my father on off Broadway when I was 9 years old.
Cool. Cool.
Great.
Well, you'll have
I
to
will
come
be
down to
there.
see our show.
I will. I will. And now, so I want to encourage all of my viewers to visit valleyplayers.com and check out their summer and fall performances and learn how to get involved. And if you support theater, which you should,
Yeah.
There is a donate button on the website, and I encourage you to donate. You can also find the Valley Players on their very colorful, fun, and informative Facebook page. Now, there's a survey that I noticed posted on your Facebook page. How is the Mad River Valley doing? It is a MRV well-being survey. How do you think the state of Vermont is doing to ensure that the arts are serving our community and our families? And what can we do better, Doug?
I mean, the thing that the arts need always is money, because putting on productions is costly, and just selling tickets does not come anywhere close, no matter what level of theater. For years, I was in shows with Peter Boynton, up at the Round Barn, and he had professionals come in from New York to do stuff, and he was like, he was like, you can't do shows just on tickets. You need community support. You need support from your local businesses, and if your government, whatever that might be, has money, you need support from that too. It's hard. The arts are always thought of as something that, oh, it's extra, it's just fun. But if you look at history, what do we remember about civilizations? We remember their art.
Art
We
is what
remember their paint.
art is what defines civilizations.
Yeah,
And by the way, the amount of money that the arts brings into Vermont is in the tens of hundreds of millions.
people
Of
want something to do, and
they want something to do. And
it's artistic things that they're looking to partake in. Yeah.
exactly. So I would assume that the well-being survey for Mad River is probably coming back with a lot of positive vibes because it's a great
Right.
place.
So that's actually not our survey, but we're helping,
For
spread the
helping
word.
spread the word. But I just wanted to mention that you're doing that. I
Thank
think
you.
all towns should do this. So
Yeah.
now we'll talk about Shana Taub. I mean, she's arrived on Broadway.
Yeah.
All the major
She has.
national news media outlets often see it next to Hillary Clinton. Her
Yeah.
musical stuff's now on Broadway.
Yeah.
She wrote the story, wrote the music and the songs and stars in the show. So she got her start probably in the Valley Players.
She did, and she was always a powerhouse. It was as if she always knew that she was going to end up where she is.
Where she is. And
She's really strong singer, really great musician, and very strong personality. Her
right.
mom was very much behind her and encouraged her. Yeah, she was Annie when she was 8, something like that. She participated in a lot of our Cabin Fever Follies. She was in several shows. I did several shows with her over at the Skinner Barn with Peter Boynton. Yeah, and then she did all the shows at Harwood, Harwood High School. But yeah, I think she got
Amazing.
her start at our little theater.
Bravo. Well, you have a lot of great notables
Yeah,
that have come
Grace
out way.
Potter was
Yeah.
another one.
I'm
She actually lives back in town. She moved back.
I know she does. I
Yeah.
know. I was at Sparky's party. Okay, so Doug, how are you
Yes.
comprehending the issues of our children that our children are facing today? Of course, the most pressing issue, as far as I'm concerned, is climate change, but we also have the fate of our democracy. How are you comprehending that issue and sharing and teaching to your students?
That's interesting. Before I got on this call, I spoke with a friend, Sal Spinoza, who he has a weekly article in our paper called "The Climate Corner,"
I read it.
and you've read it. And he said, "Doug, I want to get kids involved. It's their future. They should be writing about it." I said, "Okay." So, we're near the end of the year this year. And so I said, "Okay, September 10th, you're coming into my classroom. You're going to pitch your idea, and we're going to get an article a week out of my class." So that's something we're putting into action right now.
Well, I read some of the essays on the internet that from your
Yep.
students. Yeah, about
Yeah.
climate
Yeah. So I think that
and democracy. I mean,
kids have a lot of things going on right now.
I do. I know
People say that oh, thank God COVID's over, but
the residual.
there's a lot of residual from COVID. I mean, there's the kids that were in kindergarten and first grade missed a lot of. I talked about the responsive classroom. They missed all of that, how to just interact with other people and share, some basic stuff they lost. and forget about the kids that were in, I mean, high school that lost those crucial years.
So Doug, looking out 10 to 20 years, what do you envision for our children and our children's children? What are your hopes and your fears?
Well, world peace, isn't that what you're supposed to say, right?
No, yeah, you can say that. I'd accept
Yeah. um, well, I hope we have an understanding world. I do think kids are, when you talk about gender identity and stuff like that, I think kids are way more understanding and open to that than adults are. I mean,
And racial issues too.
it's just been part of
Women's right.
their
Yeah. I mean,
it's been part of everything around them. And the Matador Valley is not particularly racially diverse, which is, I would say, a downside about our community, but
well,
in
not
Vermont,
just
it's
Vermont. Yeah.
Vermont in general. Um, uh, but I hope that the future people are embracing of one another, understanding of one another, um, are aware. They're suffering from the actions of the last 40 years in industrialization. So, they're going to have to deal with those consequences and figure stuff out because uh, it the well things could go downhill quickly.
Yes, that's really true. Well, look, let me tell you, we're out of time. I mean, I could have talked to you all afternoon, but
Take
you are
two.
one amazing human being. Deeply honored to have shared your life and your wisdom with my viewers. And Doug, I want to thank you for being on my show. And you will see me over in the Valley,
Great.
your performances. I want to get more involved. So thank you
Cool.
for all your work that you do
You
for
bet.
and for your town. Thanks for being with me. And to my viewers, I want to thank you all for being here today. And I will see you shortly. Have a great evening. Good night.